Hey guys, Ben here. Today we're working on a 2008 Chevy Suburban, and I'll be showing you all the steps necessary to remove the headlight housing so that you can either replace it or if you just need to replace light bulbs. This video should be able to help you out. I hope you do enjoy, so let's get started. Alright guys, before we get started today, we're going to need a couple tools. We're going to need a plastic pry tool, a metal pry tool for removing the plastic fasteners in the wheel well liner, a 1/4 inch ratchet with a 10 and 7 millimeter socket. Shallow is preferred. A deep socket will work as well. Need some dielectric grease if you're replacing light bulbs, and a microfiber cloth to protect the fender and bumper and also headlight housing. A soft cloth will work as well for this job too. Over here in the driver's side wheel well is where we're going to begin. We're going to start by removing this plastic clip. It's got a center pin you pull out part way and then remove the rest of the clip. You got a 7 millimeter screw below that we're going to remove. You got a plastic clip and another plastic clip below that we're going to remove. And then at the very bottom we have another 7 millimeter screw. When all 5 fasteners are removed, we can pull this wheel well liner back and gain access to the one screw for the headlight housing. After you have all 5 of these fasteners removed, you can then begin to pull this liner back. Let me get you a better angle here. Ooh. And then we'll have access to this one screw all the way back in here. I'll get you a better shot here in a second. Here's that fastener I was talking about. This is a 10 millimeter bolt. So go ahead and grab your 1/4 inch ratchet again with the 10 millimeter socket and remove that. As you can tell, this is broke. On the other side, it's broke as well. Whoever's in here before me must have caused this. If this is the case for you, you don't have to remove this bolt all the way because it's basically not holding anything. But if yours is not broke, unlike mine, you will have to remove this bolt all the way, and then we'll move on to the next step. Up top, we're going to remove this 10 millimeter bolt and this 10 millimeter bolt in order to loosen the headlight housing. Along with those, we're going to remove a few along the top of the grill, which I'll show you here. The bolts that we'll have to remove along the top of the grill are also 10 millimeter bolts. There's going to be one here, 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 and all the way down at the end there's another one. Once you remove these bolts, we'll be able to have some room to pull this grill forward in order to get the headlight housing out without damaging anything. Once you've finished removing all the fasteners up top, we'll come down here to the side and pry on the bumper cover to remove it from the fender. You want to get as much of your hand on it as possible. Pry outward and forward with it, and when you feel it, you give it a good yank and it should come right off. Don't worry if the headlight moves, it shouldn't go anywhere. So we'll see what happens here. So pull out and forward and it should come just like so. Just make sure it's completely removed there, and then the headlight housing is a little bit loose here. Once all those fasteners are removed up top, we'll begin by working the bumper and grill cover loose from the sides, from the top. It's not going to come out too far, but it's just enough room like that. From here, there's 2 plastic tongs that stick back into the fender. If those are still secured, you get your plastic pry tool. I can grab that right here. And you'll use that to pry against the fender and pry the lens forward. Mine are already loose. From that point on, you just want to remember that the headlight housing is still plugged in, so don't yank too hard. We'll remove that once we get some access to it. But at this point, you just want to try and work the lens out, starting with the part closest to the grill, working it forward. Down at the bottom, that bracket, which you had to take the screw out of behind the bumper cover, is what gets you all hung up. So you got to try and push down the bumper, pull up on the lens while twisting, and pull it out. And it just turns like that. Okay. And then behind here, you'll have access to the wiring harness. You'll unplug that. Here's that wiring harness I'm talking about. You'll just push this tab down, grab it securely, and you'll pry it apart. Might take some working. Once that's removed, your headlight housing should come out Just be careful of the bumper. Make sure that cloth's still on there. At this point, you've successfully removed your headlight housing. You can go ahead and replace it, or if you're just here to replace light bulbs, now is the time to do it. All right, guys, one real quick thing. There's this mounting point for the headlight housing. There's a tab on the housing that sits back in this. Be sure when you're installing the headlight that it does fall back into place here, and then you pop it in to this bracket. I'll show you that tab on the back of the headlight here. That's this little tab right here that pops right back in to this bracket. So just be sure that that hooks up along with the tabs on the side of the headlight that go into these two holes here. And on the headlight housing, on mine, one of them is broken off, but here's one of them, and then here is what remains of the second one. Alrighty guys, so at this point I have the wiring harness hooked back up, and before you go ahead and reinstall the headlight housing, be sure to check that all your lights work that you replaced, or if just the new headlight housing came with new bulbs, be sure that they all work, because if you find out afterwards, that is not going to be a good day. So, let's see what happens here. We all good. Once you've got your new headlight or your light bulbs replaced, go ahead and hook it back up, and we'll go ahead and install the headlight housing. It's basically the reverse of removal here. You want to make sure that this tab down here that hooks onto the bracket goes in first. Be seated back there. There's a couple tabs here. Get up here. I'm going to pull the bumper out. While pulling the bumper forward, I'm going to push the light in. Pulling the grill forward as well. Trying to keep the cloth here to protect the paint. Alright, so it's basically in there. We can remove the cloth. And then over here, we want to make sure that these tabs align. Alright, they are good. And then the bracket I was telling you about, I'm going to make sure it goes into that. You'll feel it just pop right in, like so. And we'll start installing all the screws. And all the screws up top here on the grill and the two on the headlight housing are all the same, so you don't have to worry about getting those mixed up, which is really nice. And now that we have the grill and the headlight housing fastened, we can begin by putting the bumper back in its bracket on the fender. You just want to make sure everything's aligned here and along the bottom, and you'll push back and in. Just be gentle, and when it's in about the right spot, you just give it a good push. Sometimes it'll snap, sometimes it'll just slide right in, but make sure it's flush and you know it's all the way in. Back down in the wheel well, we're going to want to install this bolt that holds on the headlight housing. I don't really have to install it because mine is broken, but just in case we want to replace the headlight housing in the future, it'll be there for safekeeping. And of course, if yours is not broken, definitely go ahead and put that in now. Once you've secured that fastener, we'll go ahead and reinstall the wheel well liner. I had mine pulled back with a bungee cord here. You might do the same if you'd like. Go ahead and align the holes for the screws and the clips to go into. We'll install the push pins first, that way we can get it into place. One there, one up here. If you come down a bit, get another one right here. We got some screws to put in. Just hand start those for right now. Bring it back up here. And once you have all these screws fastened in, the job is done. Just wanted to point out that when I pulled the wheel well liner off, this plastic fastener popped out with it. So if that happens to you, just reinstall it, or just remove it from the beginning. It's not necessary to remove it, but if you choose to do so, there it is.